This conversation features Graham Linehan, the acclaimed comedy writer behind shows like Father Ted, discussing his recent arrest at Heathrow Airport, triggered by tweets critical of transgender policy and activism. The discussion spans his personal experience with police and harassment, issues surrounding free speech in the UK, the cultural and institutional shifts affecting arts and media, ongoing debates about gender and puberty blockers, and broader socio-political concerns impacting society today. Graham Linehan recalls being arrested after posting several tweets expressing frustration on transgender issues, specifically about men entering women's spaces. He describes the arrest as surreal and disproportionate, involving multiple officers and his placement in a cell for 10 hours. The police treated the incident with an odd mixture of cheerfulness and reluctance. They were following orders amid fear of judicial reviews and media backlash rather than genuine enthusiasm for his arrest. Linehan notes the absurdity of criminalizing tweets that denounce misogyny and homophobia, emphasizing that there was no victim in the case. He also highlights a high blood pressure reading during custody, which led to hospital treatment and a swift release, suggesting authorities feared his health might deteriorate in police care. Linehan reflects on a decade-long harassment campaign orchestrated by transgender activists, including profiteers and convicted offenders, who manipulated police and legal systems to target him. This included malicious reports that led to repeated police visits, putting his wife under fear and social pressure. The harassment severely impacted his personal and professional life, including records of non-crime hate incidents that followed him silently and restricted opportunities, such as police accreditation refusals at political events. He criticizes the way these mechanisms are abused, with police treating complainants as automatic victims and mishandling complaints, leaving targeted individuals vulnerable and stigmatized without due investigation. The conversation moves to the broader erosion of free speech in the UK and Ireland. Linehan expresses deep concern about police effectively becoming tools for social control, suppressing dissenting views under political pressures. He contrasts his treatment with the leniency shown toward violent or incendiary activists, arguing that policing today reveals a pronounced double standard based on political alignment. He describes this as a form of two-tier policing and warns of a growing authoritarian impulse within left-wing activism aiming to destroy their enemies rather than engage in rational debate. Linehan laments the widespread conformity in media and cultural elites who self-censor to avoid conflict, leaving conversations about transgender issues off-limits despite their profound societal implications. Linehan reflects on the confusion and obfuscation prevalent in public discourse about gender. The muddied terminology, such as trans women and trans men, creates misunderstanding and fear, making it difficult for people to have honest discussions. He explains that many are only realizing the biological and medical realities behind gender transition effects, such as hormone treatments, which carry significant health risks, often undisclosed to young people. This fuzziness around language, he argues, functions as a strategy to avoid confronting uncomfortable truths, effectively distorting public understanding of what being transgender means. The ongoing experimental use of puberty blockers on minors remains a contentious issue, one he feels has not been properly addressed by influential reports or policymakers. The conversation touches on how cultural institutions like theater have been negatively influenced by prevailing ideologies. Linehan details how the Father Ted musical, a project he developed over 3 years with collaborators, was effectively killed off by institutional gatekeepers who prioritized virtue signaling and ideological purity over artistic merit. Despite a successful run-through and a near-complete production, he was offered a buyout to sever ties, a move he declined, resulting in being excluded from further involvement. Diversity demands led to awkward casting decisions at odds with the material's context. Linehan believes such mediocrity-driven erosion threatens the future of theater, with similar patterns seen across other cultural sectors where truth and audience engagement are sidelined. Linehan discusses the role of mainstream media and social networks in creating a distorted information landscape. He accuses outlets like the BBC of pushing narratives that fueled surges in gender reassignment among youth without accountability or correction. The media's failure to report on critical issues like immigration-related social tensions amplifies societal divisions and mistrust. The increasing prevalence of disinformation, including AI-generated falsehoods, worsens this problem. Linehan highlights the importance of independent platforms trying to provide trustworthy content, but acknowledges their limited reach compared to sensationalist conspiracy theories that attract viral attention. Addressing broader societal issues, Linehan expresses skepticism about political and institutional competence in managing crises such as immigration and social cohesion. He worries about the rise of low-trust societies where people cannot rely on authorities or media for truthful information, fueling polarization and unrest. Ireland's recent social upheavals are cited as examples of tensions bubbling under the surface. The immigration-driven demographic changes provoke deep anxieties that cannot be openly discussed without accusations of racism, leading to further alienation. He points out parallels between the UK and Ireland, noting how housing crises and economic pressures magnify social strains. Throughout the conversation, Linehan reflects on his own journey, from being deeply embedded within the comedy and media circles to becoming marginalized due to his views on transgender issues. He describes how harassment and systemic suppression forced him to venture into new creative forms, such as writing films with collaborators in the United States, expanding his skills beyond stand-up and sitcom writing. Despite frustrations, he values having broken out of prior ideological bubbles and understands the complexity and humanity on all sides of these disputes, though he remains critical of cancel culture and mob mentalities. Linehan voices concern about the trajectory of public debate and political discourse, which he sees dominated by destructive tendencies and scare tactics rather than reasoned discussion. He fears that cancel culture and ideological enforcement have created a situation where important conversations become taboo, destabilizing the fabric of democratic society. The struggle over gender ideology epitomizes this, symbolizing a broader assault on facts and reality. He mentions figures like Charlie Kirk as casualties of this conflict and worries about potential violent outcomes. Nonetheless, he acknowledges glimpses of progress, such as controversial debates happening openly and increasing public awareness of previously suppressed issues. Toward the end, Linehan discusses the importance of taking breaks amid the intense pressures of being a dissident voice in a fraught cultural environment. He acknowledges the mental toll his experiences have taken and emphasizes the value of holidays and stepping back to maintain health and perspective. He also touches on the evolution of his political views, having moved away from prior antagonisms and now embracing conversations with a broader array of individuals, including conservatives and moderates. This maturation shapes his ongoing efforts to contribute meaningfully to public discourse while navigating complex cultural battles.